boys and girls. Today we're going to begin reading The Egyptian Cinderella by Shirley Clymer. Long ago in the land of Egypt, where the green Nile River widens to meet the blue sea, there lived a maiden called Rhodopis. When she was still a small child, Rhodopis had been stolen by pirates. She was snatched from her home in Greece, taken across the sea to Egypt, and there sold as a slave. Like the Egyptian servant girls, Rhodopis went to the water's edge each day to wash clothes or gather the reeds that grew along the riverbank. But Rhodopis looked different from the Egyptian girls. Their eyes were brown and hers were green. Their hair hung straight to their shoulders, while the breeze blew hers into tangles. Their skin glowed like copper, but her pale skin burned red beneath the sun. That was how she got her name, for Rhodopis meant rosy-cheeked in Greek. Rosy Rhodopis, scoffed the servant girls, hissing her name between their teeth. Rhodopis pretended not to hear, but she blushed rosier than ever. And here's a picture, and you can see that Rhodopis definitely looks very different than the Egyptian girls. Although her master was kind, he was old and liked to doze beneath a fig tree. He seldom heard the servant girls tease Rhodopis. He never saw them ordering her about. "Hurry, Rhodopis," they would shout at her. "The geese are in the garden, eating up the onions. Mend my robe. I'm hungry, Rhodopis. Bake the bread." Rhodopis always hurried to do their bidding, for the Egyptian girls were household servants, and she was only a slave. You can see they're not really being very nice. So I wonder why she doesn't tell the master that the other girls are being so ugly to her. I wonder what's the difference between being a slave and a servant girl. Rhodopis found friends among the animals instead. Birds ate crumbs from her hands. She coaxed a monkey to sit on her shoulder and charmed a hippopotamus with her songs. It would raise its huge head from the muddy water and prick its small ears to listen. Sometimes when her chores were done and the day had cooled, Rhodopis would dance for her animal companions. She twirled so lightly that her tiny bare feet scarcely touched the ground. One evening, her master awakened to see her dance. "No goddess is more nimble," he called out. "Such a gift deserves a reward." He tugged his chin whiskers, thinking, and then he declared, "You shall go barefoot no longer." I wonder why she goes barefoot to begin with. Is it because she's a slave? Let's see the pretty pictures. Her master ordered a pair of dainty slippers made especially for Rhodopis. The soles were of real leather, and the toes were gilded with rose-red gold. Now, when Rhodopis danced, her feet sparkled like fireflies. The rose-red slippers set Rhodopis more apart than ever. The Egyptian servant girls were jealous, for they wore clumsy sandals woven from papyrus. Out of spite, they found new tasks to make her do, keeping Rhodopis so busy that she was too tired to dance at night. One evening, Kippa, who was chief among the servant girls, announced, "Tomorrow we sail for Memphis to see the Pharaoh. His Majesty is going to hold court for all his subjects. There will be musicians and dancing," said another servant girl, eyeing those rose-red slippers. "There will be feasting," added a third. "Poor Rhodopis." "You must stay behind," Kippa jeered. "You have linen to wash and grain to grind and the garden to weed." And here they are talking and just being very ugly. Now, I think I can make a prediction here, though. I know that the servant girls are going to see the Pharaoh. I know that they would like to have the slippers for themselves. So I predict that they will take her slippers. But we'll see. The next morning, just as Re, the sun, was climbing into the sky, Rhodopis followed the servant girls to the riverbank. Kippa wore a necklace of blue beads. Bracelets jangled from the wrists of a second. The third had tied a many-colored sash about her waist. Although Rhodopis wore a plain tunic, on her feet were those rose-red slippers. "Perhaps they will let me come along to see the Pharaoh after all," she thought. But the servant girls poled their raft around toward the bend in the river without giving Rhodopis a backward glance. Rhodopis sighed and turned to the basket piled high with dirty clothes. Wash the linen, weed the garden, grind the grain. She slapped the wooden paddle against the cloth in time to her song. The hippopotamus, tired of so dull a tune, pushed out of the weeds and splashed into the river. Shame, cried Rodolphus, shaking her paddle. You splattered mud on my beautiful slippers. So I wonder why they didn't let her go. She polished the shoes on the hem of her tunic until the rosy gold glittered in the sun. Then she carefully put them on the bank behind her. Wash the linen, weed the garden, Rodolphus began again. Then suddenly a shadow fell on the water. Rodolphus jumped up. A great falcon, the symbol of the god Horus, circled the sky with wings spread so wide they blotted out the sun. Greetings to you, proud Horus, Rodolphus murmured. She bowed her head and felt a rush of air on the back of her neck. I wonder if she bowed her head, I guess, in respect, but what she doesn't see, poor thing, is it took her slipper. And we'll find out more tomorrow. Thanks for listening.